Hello and welcome. I'm Tim and this is SV Paquita, and those right over here are the snow-capped mountains of Spain's Sierra Nevadas. Anyone ever know that it snowed in Spain? I told you before that when I was 16 years old I went to school in Madrid, and the things that I learned most, other than in the bars and discos in Madrid, where every weekend we'd go to another spot of the country and see different things. And one time we went, I think when we were going down to Granada, because Granada is up there, but we went, and for some reason we went up to the Sierra Nevadas, and it was in the fall, so it hadn't snowed yet, meaning it was in the fall, like this was like September, October. It wasn't like right now we're day before Thanksgiving, so almost right before December. Anyway, we went to a place, and I remember we rode the chairlift up, and we were all skiers, but there was no snow there, but we rode this chairlift up to see the mountain, and we said, wow, can you imagine that, being in a place as cool as Spain and having snow too? Well, anyway, I never get to see it, but I am seeing it now. Looking at it from afar. Bring you back a little closer here. So once again, hello and welcome. I'm Tim, and this is SV Paquita. We are on the traveling westward on our way out of the Mediterranean, and we are trying to system that is coming, that I think is coming on Saturday afternoon. One model says Saturday morning, another says Saturday afternoon, another one says Saturday evening. But once that system comes, the wind will be blowing at us very hard, and not only will it be rough, but we don't want to go into wind. So 2 out of the 4 models we were looking at to come this way said that we would have wind until about this time, and it would all be behind us. Then the other one said there'd be no wind, and we have experienced, there was some wind at the dock when we left, and we had a little accident. I'll tell you about that in a second. But yeah, there's been no wind, and now if there's any wind at all, there's a wind coming at us. So once again, the models have been having a very hard time working. But I don't know let me see if I can zoom in here. See all this stuff over here? Those are all the greenhouses. And remember that the south coast of Spain grows, it's what do they call it, Europe's garden or something like that. It grows all the fruit and vegetables for all, and as far as I can see, all the way back there, it's all these greenhouses. And apparently you can even see the greenhouses from space. They're so defined there. I think it's really cool. I tried, when we came the other way, when we were coming from the west going east, we tried to, there was a place that had a tour, that you could take a tour and see the hydroponics working and all that sort of stuff. And unfortunately they were closed. They're in between crops, and they were closed at that moment. And right now we're cold. We need to keep headed this way. So it is Wednesday today. Tomorrow is Thursday, Thanksgiving, and that's a special day for me. Growing up as a kid on Monhegan Island in Maine, we didn't have any electricity or running water in the winter, so but we were very entertained. And my mother, who was the Latin in the family, she used to cook like incredibly well, and my parents instilled something in me that has made Thanksgiving my favorite holiday forever. And that's that, I mean, they didn't instill there's a part of it that I like, that I think that I got myself, as far as I like that it doesn't matter what race, color, creed, religion, what God you pray to, how much money you make or whatever. It's nice to have one holiday that you can give thanks, to be grateful for everything. And I do believe that regardless of where you are in life and what battles you have, if you can sincerely be grateful, you can't be grateful without being some part of happy as well. So Thanksgiving is always special. But something that my mom and dad did that I always thought was really neat. Monhegan Island is a very small community. There's a whole bunch of people that are out there. We call them summer people in the summer. Sorry about that. I'll lean up against this. a whole bunch of people in the summer that come out and spend the summer out there, and then there's a whole bunch of people from 3 different ferries that will come in the morning and then leave in the afternoon. Those are day trippers. But there's when we were there, we got there in 1966, and I left there probably around for Rhode Island. I think in 1987. I think. Anyway, yeah, that sounds about right. So one of the things during that time, the island population is cyclical and it goes up and down. I think when we were there was the smallest number of people of the winter community was about 63 people, and I think the biggest was about 110 or something like that. And anyway, one thing that was kind of cool, not growing up with a television or anything like that, and my mother being an amazing cook, having people over for dinner was a big source of entertainment and something that we all looked forward to. And because my mom was such a good cook, well, everybody knew that coming to dinner at my mom's house was a good thing. And during every holiday, but especially Thanksgiving, well, I shouldn't say especially, it's probably every holiday, but I think of this most on Thanksgiving. Any of the people on the island that didn't have anywhere to go, I mean, if there are, say, 80 people on the island, they're not all families. There's some what we call stern men. Those are guys that work on the stern of a lobster boat. The captain runs the boat and the stern man does all the work in the back. And many times they're just bachelors. Then there are people like the school teacher that might be a single woman, or there might be somebody that is widowed or divorced or whatever, or somebody that's just down on their luck. Even there was a hermit that lived on the island right across that made our harbor called Manana. Ray Phillips was a hermit over there, and my brother once or twice a week would row. We never had cars out there, but all the kids, we all had skiffs that we'd row around. My brother, until he went away to high school, would row Ray Phillips's groceries over to him and his mail and that sort of stuff. Anyway, Ray Phillips would often come over to our house for holiday meals. But I always remember from the earliest of my memories just being in a house that smelled so good, and it was cold outside, it was warm in the house, and everyone was happy. And these are people from all walks of life. People that would surround not just our dining room table, but our whole living room. Because, like I say, you didn't have a lot to do out there. So people would come in the afternoon, and they would hit. My father was always heavily involved with with philosophy and religion and politics, and so there was always all kinds of stimulating conversations, and people from all walks of life, all different points of view. And although I was too young to notice it then, when I look back on it, I seem to remember that people had different points of view at the beginning of the day, and then later on at night when we'd all eat, we'd all sit around a table as one family and as one together, and that for me is something to give thanks for. I have tried to continue that tradition myself, whether it be living in Rhode Island. I try to invite people over, and in fact on my the whole time that I was working as working on tugboats, every other year you would miss Thanksgiving at home. And so it was quite a normal thing that I would have Thanksgiving a week or so earlier than Thanksgiving would be. And so I'd have 25 or 30 people over at my house and celebrate my Thanksgiving, because I'd be out on the boat without all my friends and family, other than Big Blue and my crew. And so that was something that I carried on there. I don't know what happens over there, meaning where we're going. When I last looked, we were 27 miles from our destination, which is Motril, I think it's called. We're going into a marina there. I see it's $28 a night, and I've booked 2 nights there, and then we're on to Benalmádena. And I don't know who is over there or who we'll meet, but when we were back here, we met John, and he would have been somebody that would have definitely, the last 2 nights he ate dinner with us anyway on the boat, and we loved that. And so that's my kind of pre-Thanksgiving Day story for you. I know that especially, it seems like every year you keep saying especially in these tough times, but man, things certainly seem divided and unsure as far as the world is going. I don't know if I'm just becoming an old curmudgeon myself or if times are changing, but I highly recommend that regardless of where you are in life, if you could take a moment to give thanks from this, I used to tell my crew to celebrate every victory on the tugboat. Regardless of how small it is, we're going to celebrate every win we have. And that was something that really helped to build morale and really unify a team, a crew together. And you can do that personally yourself too. I know that a lot of you, that I don't know this, but I suspect odds are that there are some of you out there that watch this that might be alone. And I don't mean that you're the only one in the house, but you might feel alone. You might be surrounded by people that you don't really have that connection with, or that politics have gotten in the way of, or whatever it is. And I just want to tell you that as the holidays come, you have a choice. We can look at this and say, oh, this sucks. It was so much greater back then. Or we can look at this and say, my God, we are so lucky. And we are so blessed to have food and have shelter and have a roof over our head. If you're watching this, you have some sort of internet access. Times are good now. And you need only to think of people in other parts of the world that are currently at war. There's some people that have no dog in this fight whatsoever, but they just happen to be born or placed where they are right now, and other people are fighting around them, and because of them they have no shelter, no food, no future, no nothing. And I'm not saying that you should think of them and be happy. I'm saying that take a moment to be grateful of the victories, regardless of how big or small they are. It's holidays like this that I really miss my family, and this is something that I'm only to blame for. Nobody asked me to do this trip. This is a trip that I wanted to do. Having said that, I have to be grateful that although my beautiful daughter and my amazing son and their spouses or significant others won't be sitting around the table. My mom and dad have both passed away, and I'll be missing them. My awesome brother and sister, my sister will probably be having her faux turkey. She always has one of those tofu turkeys. And my brother and I always just think, whenever we'd have Thanksgiving, we'd say, please let's not have it at my Louisa's house because we don't want to eat the faux turkey. We want to eat a real turkey. And my brother's out there probably, like me, eating a great big turkey or beef dinner or whatever. Where I go for pork and chicken, poultry, he goes for beef. But anyway, although I miss them and they won't be with me, this is another moment I give thanks. And I don't care if you give thanks to your God or your creator or power to be or Mother Nature or whoever it is. Just be thankful for a second. And in my case, I thank God that I have a brother and sister that I love and that they love me. And we have no strife in the family. Thank God that my son and my daughter have moved out of the house. I would love it if my son and daughter were doing this trip and lived with me. And believe me, I've tried to make that happen, selfishly. But I'm really fortunate and I'm grateful that they have grown and they want to chart their own course in life. And they don't have any problem with Dad, and they love sailing, and they come and visit me and that sort of stuff. But they need to do their thing. And in doing that, in living their own life, not following me. I mean, like I say, I have friends who have their adult children live with them and go on their vacations and do all that stuff. And I got to tell you, I'm kind of really jealous about that. I'm jealous because selfishly, I would like my children to be with me. Well, my brother and sister, have my parents back and my friends and all that sort of stuff. But in the bigger picture, I have to be grateful that as a parent, I did and their mother did as well. We did what we needed to do to give my children the tools for their toolkit of life to go out and forge their own future and their own destiny. And in doing that, they are charting a different course than I am. And I'm not there, and they're not here with me today. But that's certainly something to celebrate and certainly something to be grateful for. And please, when I tell you this, I really hope that you guys hear this, that this, I'm talking for me. I'm not, because I'm not the best auditor ever, I probably am not saying this correctly. I don't mean to lecture or dictate to any of you. I'm telling you something that has worked very well for me, and I guess I'm one of those guys that likes a movie with a happy ending, and I like life to end up happy as well. I remember my mother explaining to me years ago when I was having trouble in one of my marriages, where she asked me, is it more important to be right or is it more important to be happy? And I'm grateful for that as well, for that little bit of advice. But anyway, I'm going on way too long for this. Let's again take a look at this beautiful, beautiful sea. We've passed a whole bunch of fishing boats, and both Bob and I have not pulled out the fishing rod because we can't catch anything, it seems. We've caught some things that have taken just like the wind here. The wind is either too much or not enough. The fish are either too big or they're not big enough. Speaking of too much wind, before I got to shorten this video up here, but last night, all the models said that the wind was going to die out, and I think we were all in bed by 8 o'clock or something like that. At 11 o'clock at night, the boat was howling, and I mean, the instruments weren't on, but I guarantee it had to be well over 40 knots of wind in gusts blowing down onto the boat. And the boat's at the marina, and we're mid-moored, and you feel the boat leaning over like that, just blowing on the rigging. And at one point, I hadn't had the staysail cleated off, and I started to hear it going whap, 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 whap. So as soon as I heard that, I leaped out of bed and ran up there in my underwear and furled it back in. I say back in, the thing, it probably came out 6 inches, but enough when there was 6 inches at 40 knots, it's going, whap, 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 it sounds like a helicopter. But it was amazing. And while I was there, my heart's all pumping, I got to get back to bed. I pulled out the phone and tried to look, and none of the 7 or 8 different models that Predict Wind uses, none of them, and they all have a gust thing on it. None of them said, some of them said there were gusts, but not in our area. And I was just like, wow, it's amazing. Thank God we were not at anchor or offshore somewhere when that hit, because that was pretty nasty. But that's it. Another thing to be thankful for. I'm sure that somebody out there is going to say, oh, poo, then be thankful, bah humbug, all that sort of stuff. Look, call me whatever you want. All I'm telling you is it's your life. And the reason why I'm so happy is because I take a moment every day, and especially tomorrow on Thanksgiving, to say thank you. Thank you to life, thank you to Mother Nature, thank you to luck, thank you to God, whoever you choose that fits your mold. Thank somebody, and you too will find peace. You guys take care, be safe, and as always, I'll see you on the one.